Am I the butthole for telling my friend that I slept with his disabled younger sister? John and I are both in our 40s. He was my friend through middle school and most of high school. We hung out together, played the same sports, did church, summer camp, etc. Basically, we grew up together. I also knew and spent time with his sister, Mary. Mary has cerebral palsy and uses an electric wheelchair. After graduating, John went to university while I stayed back home to work at my father's business and go to community college part-time. Mary also went to community college and we ended up hanging out a lot. John and his family liked the idea of me being like a big brother to Mary. Mary and I grew closer and we began having sex. We weren't exactly dating, but it was a lot of fun for both of us. Because Mary's family is very protective of her, we both agreed to keep our relationship a secret. Eventually, her family found out and there was an ugly confrontation with me and them. They accused me of taking advantage of Mary because of my familiarity with her and because she was disabled. Mary insisted she wanted the relationship, but they dismissed her views like they always did. John was especially angry at me, even trying to start a fist fight. My father got involved and things eventually settled down, but my friendship with John and his family was over. I ended up leaving the area after I got my associate's degree and moved out of state to live with my mother. So 2 decades have passed. I have stayed in contact with Mary, but only exchange basic pleasantries with John and his family. They are still connected with my father, so it's just a courtesy relationship. 2 weeks ago, Mary came to my city and we met for lunch. It was a company event with her coworkers and vendors, but I still enjoyed seeing her again after so many years. We continued the evening at her hotel room, and I ended up spending the night with her. This Saturday morning, I woke to find a message from John. We've barely communicated for the last 20 years, so I was startled to see his name. Apparently, he'd gotten around to looking at the pictures Mary had posted from the lunch and saw me sitting next to his sister. It was like we had teleported back in time to 20 years ago. The same accusations and angry insults got flung at me. He dredged up crap I had forgotten about years ago. He ended his message warning me not to spend time with Mary. I was outraged by his message. We're 2 grown men, not high school kids. How can he say those things about me and his sister? In my anger, I messaged him back saying that not only did I spend time with Mary, but that we slept together again and he should get over himself. It felt good to retaliate like that, but I immediately had doubts. When I talked with Mary, she wasn't upset, but she made it clear that she would have preferred I just ignore her brother like she does. We're still keeping our plans to see each other again, but I realize Mary is disappointed by my childish behavior. Am I the butthole for my reply to John? Update. So after reading the comments, I am NTA for my relationship with Mary, but my response to John was unacceptable. That's fair. I've apologized to Mary, and she's accepted my apology. That doesn't change the fact that I screwed up. For sharing intimate details without first asking Mary, I am the butthole. I will never do that again. As for the fallout of my butthole moment, John sent another nasty message that got even more personal, including telling me some things about our past and my father that were very hurtful. Following the advice of the comments, I replied calmly and then blocked him. As I mentioned in my post, I will be seeing Mary again. I am spending this spring-summer back home with my father. After his wife passed last year, he decided to wind down his business and sell our old house. I will be going back there for about 3 months to help him with the business, fix a few things at the house, help him pack, and just hang out together. It's several decades of memories to be put away or donated, so we're taking our time. We'll BBQ and go to baseball games like we did when I was a kid. Mary and I are looking forward to seeing each other again this summer. Our weekend together was memorable, despite my later stupidity. There's a fair chance John will come and try to stir crap up, but I'm not stressing over it. Mary means a lot to me. It will be good to have 3 months to enjoy each other's company before I have to leave again, this time for good. I'm sure Mary and I will stay in touch, maybe even see each other again in the future. Next story. He 42M is so jealous of our kids and it's starting to scare me 35F. Is this family and marriage even savable? My husband 42M and I 35F tried for so long to have our boys and girl. Due to a health issue my husband suffered, he developed fertility issues and we had to get medical assistance to be able to have our children, because if we didn't he'd probably never have kids. So we went through fertility treatment. He desperately wanted his own biological children and we spent a fortune just to bring them into the world, and now he's jealous and distant with them. He's constantly in competition with his own infant children. If I hold the children he gets frustrated. Anytime they take my attention away he gets completely pissy. He's always in a foul mood, irritable and just downright nasty. I don't understand it. Why is he like this? Our children are barely 6 months and they won't stop crying every time he's near. I feel like they can sense his negativity. I tried talking to him. I've suggested he take interest in the kids and spend more time with us as a family. I know it can sometimes take a little longer for parents to bond with their children, but this is downright scary to experience. He's full of jealousy and envy. He sees our children as competition to my time and affections. A few times now he has made comments about feeling frustrated that I still breastfeed our children. The thing is we mix feed, so he has had ample opportunity to feed them, and he just doesn't. He also said that this meaning our life and our marriage after children wasn't what he thought it would be like. I mean, what did he expect? A singular baby cries and 3 of them cry a lot. We've been together for 8 years and married for 7 years. He wanted these children. He pushed for them, and now this? I never thought this would ever be me. I am scared. I am scared for my children. I have tried talking to him, but he just brushes me off. I've suggested counseling. He refuses. He tells me it's all in my head. I want to save this marriage, but I am scared I won't be able to, and maybe it's not worth saving. He comes home later every day. He avoids us on the weekends and any time he has off. I'm not ashamed to say that I went through his phone, and there are a lot flirtatious texts between him and a Jessica. I don't think anything has happened between them, but it sure looks like they are building up to it. I haven't said anything because I'm afraid. Where do I go with 3 children, with no money and no family that can help me? I haven't worked in 2 years and I've spent all my savings on having these children. My mind is in a complete meltdown. I can't sleep, I can't think, and I'm always exhausted. What the hell happened? Is this him now forever? Edit. Some of you are some real evil crap. Stop blaming me for him mistreating me. I do not deserve to be treated this way, and neither do my kids. Stop messaging me evil things. Comments. Examples of competition. If I'm with the kids and say I'm feeding them, he gets upset. I'm focusing on them and not him. Or as he likes to say, I'm fussing over them. He expects they sleep through the night and gets upset when I'm with them instead of in bed with him. He has even made weird comments about me loving them more than him. Did he really want kids, or did you want kids? Due to my husband's fertility issues, he was the one pushing for us to have kids. He knew early on that he had a health condition and wanted us to have children way earlier. But I asked if we could wait, but then his condition worsened, so we agreed to get treatment before he couldn't have any kids. He desperately wanted to be a father, and they are biologically ours. His desire to be a father was one of the qualities I liked about him when we started dating. I've always worked, and the plan was for me to stay home for the first 23 years and perhaps work part-time until the kids were school-aged. But that's out the window now because I don't want to ever be this vulnerable. I've been brushing off my CV and scouring the internet for a job. I will never allow myself to be this vulnerable again. Does he help at all? Do you have a support system you could go to? He doesn't help me at all. I take care of our kids on my own. My parents are long gone and my sister is abroad. She stayed with us for the birth and a month after the children were born. She lives in France, but she's due to return home this summer, so I know I'll have her help when she's back. But I'm trying not to bother her as she's going through a divorce. I've suggested couples counseling and he refuses. He says everything is in my head. I'm actually even crying writing this, but I do have a small to-go bag in the trunk of my car, just in case. I feel like I'm not being rational because he doesn't hurt me or the kids, but I feel like I'm constantly walking on eggshells. Like what happened to my happy-go-lucky husband. Who's this person I'm afraid of? Are they his biologically? Did you guys go to a support group for infertility treatment? We didn't use any sperm or egg donations. The kids are his and mine biologically. We also went to a support group, 2 support groups actually. One of them was for couples and the other for men experiencing infertility. He also went to individual therapy to deal with his emotional issues around infertility. Update. Thank you to the person who said I should watch his interactions with my babies more closely and frequently. Not even hours after I posted here asking for advice, I caught him pinching my son. While I was scrolling on here and replying to people, I decided to check my baby monitor, and I watched my husband enter our children's room and insult them in a hushed and whispery tone. I couldn't make out much of what he was saying, but he was without a doubt telling them that he hated them and wished them dead. Then he pinched my son and my baby boy didn't even cry, which made me think he's done this many times before. It all happened so fast, and by the time I could make sense of what was happening on the monitor, he was already walking down the hallway and down the stairs. At the same time, I had leapt off the sofa and pretty much tackled him as he came off the stairs. We got into a physical and verbal altercation. We fought, argued, and shouted for hours. I guess the police were called by the neighbors because the next thing I know the police are banging on my door. I explained the situation to the police and the officers said that they could not prove that my baby was harmed since he didn't have a bruise and my baby monitor was only on live feed and not simultaneously recording. Eventually, they got my husband to agree to pack a bag and leave. He left reluctantly. He has since been blowing up my phone begging for forgiveness, talking about how he's been depressed and stressed by the babies, and that his anxiety and jealousy got the best of him. I just responded once telling him to go F himself. I've also been in contact with a lawyer and she's advised me to leave him unblocked in case he further incriminates himself. I don't even recognize who this man is. Where did this all come from? How did this happen? Has any other parent experienced this? How did you handle this? Before y'all start jumping down my throat, I am absolutely getting a divorce and I will do everything in my power to get full custody. I did take my children to our family doctor, and they are in good health and there are no other signs of abuse. I've filled a report with the police and my lawyer is dealing with it. I'm also about to start the process of divorce. Relevant comments. Commenter, he just wants more and better access to his victims. This is someone who gets off on hurting children. Actual human beings who are stressed and depressed do not sneak around abusing children for their dopamine hits. Oop, exactly. I'm tired, stressed, depressed, and I'm physically still not fully healed from the pregnancy and the cesarean birth, but not once have I thought of hurting anyone, let alone a baby. I don't buy his crap excuses. He clearly knew what he was doing was wrong, otherwise he wouldn't have been sneaking around and being all hush-hush. I do not believe him for 1 second. He's a goddamn beastly man. Update the monitor to one that records. I've set the monitor up to record now. I've also ordered a home security system and will be installing it real soon. On what OOP is doing to protect them. I'm doing everything I can to protect them. This all happened a few days ago, but I am in the process of getting a temporary restraining order. My lawyer is handling it, and I understand it takes some time to actually get one, and in the meantime I've been advised that I can just deny him visitation until he gets a judgment from the courts that forces me to grant him access to my babies, but that takes time. So in the meantime he can't force me or my babies to see him. I've recorded every call and saved every text, literally documenting everything. Thankfully, he's saying and texting a goldmine of incriminating things that I hope would be sufficient information for a judge to give me and my babies a restraining protective order, and for family court to grant me primary and sole custody. Did you tell him you saw the pinch? Yes. He at first told me I was imagining things, then switched to saying he was just frustrated our son wouldn't go to sleep. Then he started saying that he was angry that our son was interrupting our personal time, and that he was doing it on purpose because the other babies were asleep, so why wasn't he? Honestly, nothing he says makes sense to me. Like my baby boy was just laying there sleepy, and he would have fallen back to sleep by himself. That crap actually woke him up with his pinching and insults. He says he went in their room to check up on them, and I call crap on that he went in there to torment my children. Who in their right mind whispers death to 2 sleeping babies and another half-asleep baby? Did he tell you that over phone or text? This was on a call which I've recorded. Update 2. Every conversation with him 42M feels like I'm 36F losing my mind. The only thing that has kept me semi-sane and able to track what he has been doing is my audio journal and my posts on here. Last week it was my 36th birthday. Actually, I had forgotten it was my birthday and was reminded by my sister that it was in fact my birthday. I decided I couldn't mope around the house, and I got my kids dressed to go shopping and get groceries. We got back and I put away half of the groceries, but my babies were fussy, and so to tire them out and ready them for bed we went for a walk. When I got back home, he was in the kitchen cooking and putting away some of the groceries I had left out. He greeted me and acted normal. I didn't react because his entire demeanor was freaking me out, so I played along. I went upstairs and got the kids down. I did think of walking out the front door, but he was kind of anticipating it, and so he was following me around, and I thought in the moment that the best thing I could do was to get my kids upstairs and away from him. He said he wanted to talk and clear the air because this has gone on too long. We had a long conversation, and it started out reasonable, but eventually spiraled out of control. We got into physical confrontation because I refused to let him stay. He tried to physically intimidate me, and he, well, hurt me. While he was hurting me, I was still able to contact the police. It took them an excruciatingly long 25 minutes to get there. So here I am sitting with 2 completely black and blue eyes, a busted lip, swollen face, massive knots on my head, and bruises all over. I don't know what happened to my life or how I got here, but here I am. I can't even look my neighbors in the eyes. I can't go outside without seeing the shocked faces of people. I have never felt so ashamed, so humiliated, so hurt, and so utterly stupid. I thought I made all the right choices in life. What did I do wrong? When did it all get so effed? I mean, I think I did everything right. Like I created a stable life for myself, then picked a man that at time was a very loving partner. I married that man and waited 5 years before even going through the process of having children with him. And now once I've had his children, he's just beating on me and our babies. Edit. My sister is now aware of what's been happening, and she is supporting me as best as she can. I have plans to move out, but since I'm not working right now, I need some time to save up. His family is also aware. His family refused to believe that I saw him hurt our child, but they can't deny this attack now that they've seen my bruises. Also, yes, he was arrested, and he was bailed out by his brother. He's currently staying with his brother. Update 3. I say all of this without exaggeration. I am certain he was getting ready to kill us. After nearly 8 months of turmoil, I'm finally close to understanding. My soon-to-be ex-husband is in love with a woman he came across on social media, and he has been obsessing over her for at least a year. She also happens to be a sex worker, and he was paying her for her time and attention. In his mind, he believed they could have a future together if only he could get rid of my children and me. Even though this woman gave him no inkling that she even wanted to be with him. He has spent so much of our money on this woman. I am at a loss for words that could accurately describe the situation. I can barely believe half of the things he's been up to. I've spent the past few weeks playing detective, and I finally decided to contact Jessica. This is obviously not her name, but I need to call her something. I contacted Jessica, and at first she was very reluctant to speak to me, but I literally begged her to, and she was kind enough to get on the phone with me. She told me that she had been seeing him for a while, but she stopped seeing him because he started to scare her. He was sending her unhinged messages and voicemails. He had been stalking her and trying to convince her to be with him. Jessica eventually stopped seeing him and had him blocked, and I guess this is when he started to escalate from emotional abuse to physically abusing my children and myself. He was looking for a way out, and in his crazy mind, killing us would free him because the only reason Jessica wouldn't be with him was because me and my children were in the way. During our long call, I also explained to Jessica what had been happening to me, and she was genuinely kind and helpful. She also agreed to speak to my lawyer and to send them the thousands of unhinged texts, voicemails, and voice notes he sent her. For a little while after our conversation, a part of me genuinely hated Jessica and wanted to blame her for everything, but the rational part of me pushed out those unreasonable and dangerous thoughts, especially after I read his disturbing texts and heard his voicemail notes to Jessica. She has also been victimized by him. Honestly, there is nothing like listening to your husband and father of your children talk about how you and your children mean nothing to him and how he wishes you were dead. He could have just asked for a divorce or just got up and left. I sent him a few texts asking him why. This was a one-time thing, and since then I've stopped all contact. Why do all of this? Why torment my babies? Why not just walk away? He responded with a message saying any conversation between us should be through our lawyers. His parents have him lawyered up. They know what he's been up to, and they've chosen to protect him. His father came to see me and in a not-so-direct way suggested he could pay me if I stopped talking about what his son has done and was planning on doing. Ever since he broke into the house and pretty much tried to kill me, I've told anyone who'd listen what he has done. At this point, even his colleagues know. Update 4. Last week Thursday at approximately 2 a.m. in the morning, my 36F husband, 42M of nearly 8 years, was arrested outside of Jessica's house. The sex worker he met online and used to pay to spend time with him until he started to creep her out by his stalking and obsession. When he was arrested, they found in his truck small baggies with drug residue, and they also found tools of abduction. I honestly do not know what these are exactly. My soon-to-be ex Phil called me at around 4:50 a.m. to tell me that his son was arrested. My Phil was the one who used the term tools of abduction. When I asked him what the hell that means, he said he didn't have time for my interrogation tactics. He then asked if I could help them find a lawyer for him and to stand by his son throughout all of this. When I said to him, "How the hell am I supposed to find a lawyer this early in the morning?" he lost his crap and then was just screaming. My soon-to-be ex-Mill took over the phone, telling me that I'm a goddamn bad woman and that all this is my fault. I hung up before she could say any more. I never knew this man to take drugs. Sure, he drank occasionally, but hard drugs? I honestly don't know what's happening anymore or how I got here. I mean, it does make sense he was on cocaine the past 78 months now that I look back at things. I mean, I don't even know anything about drugs to be able to recognize the behavior pattern, but once I researched it, it seemed clear. The moodiness, the disappearances, the lies, the anger, the sudden outburst, and the violence, it all points to drug usage, as well as him being an abusive piece of crap. His parents and the rest of his family had called and texted me so much abusive crap, and they occasionally switched to begging me to go see him or pick up his calls, but I've mainly ignored them. I don't have the time, the energy, or the love that is needed to be there for this man and his parents. I've given him 8 years of my love and affection, and he spat it back into my face during the hardest and most vulnerable time of my life. Also, why would they think I'd help him after everything he's done? Especially since I think he deserves to be in jail for not only hurting my children, but also for hurting myself and Jessica. I hope and pray he's jailed for the rest of his natural life. I mean, I've tried being a good wife, but he has attacked my children. He has attacked me. He has lied and tormented us, and I'm supposed to help him. I don't even know how I got here. How did we get here? I've packed everything up and I'm leaving. I'm disappearing with my kids, and anything else between me and these people can be handled through my lawyer. The only person who knows where I'm moving to is my lawyer and my sister. I mean, what else can I do to protect my children? His entire family blames me. And how do I keep my head high when I'm now being treated like I'm an evil and disgusting person by pretty much everyone I once called a family? These people are trying to destroy me inside and out, and I don't know how to survive them. How am I supposed to rebuild my life when they won't stop tormenting me? In less than a year of their birth, I've managed to fail my children. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share, and subscribe the channel James Stories.